What and how much of myself had I lost trying to do only what was expected of me instead of what I myself had wished to do? The Invisible Man. And Pepper! Special guest, How to Play by Pepper. Thank you, Pepper. Welcome to the channel, the video. Today we are looking at Horrified, a classic movie monster game that is just a whole lot of fun. It's a cooperative game in which we are stereotypes, caricatures of characters from horror movies, and we are trying to stop these monsters from attacking. So today we will be talking about how to set up, how to play, and how to win Horrified. So this is a cooperative game, like I said. It plays 2 to 5 players. Today we will be setting up for a 4-player game. This is how you set up the game. First off, you throw out the board, and it is a lovely looking board. Next thing we'll do is we will decide what character we're going to be. It is a random draw. However, I've already drawn for this, so I've drawn 4 characters here. We will be playing as the inspector, the mayor, the professor, and the scientist. And they each have their own special actions, which we'll get to in a minute. But first thing we're going to do is just pull those tokens out, and we're going to put them onto the board in their starting locations, which are set at the bottom of their board here. So the scientist starts off at the Institute, which is down here. So a nice little spread across the board here. The rest of these are going to be thrown out of the game. We have what's called a terror marker. In this game, there are 2 ways to lose. First thing is this terror marker goes from 0 all the way up to the skull here. That's one way. And the other way is this is the monster card deck. If the monster card deck is completely depleted and you go to draw one and you cannot, that is the end of the game. There are a number of ways in which the terror marker moves up, and we'll get to those in just a moment. Set everything next to the board here. You have your 10 villagers here. They are nuisances more than anything else, but they allow you to get special benefits if you move them to where they need to go. Also, you have 3 sets of dice here. They have 3 different things on them. One of them looks like an explosion. That would be a damage hit. Then they have just a blank side, and then they have an exclamation point. Whichever monster has their own special thing that happens with that. You'll have a bag here. You'll have a number of goods, which look like these. They come in 3 different colors: red, yellow, and blue. You're just going to take all of those, and you're going to put them into this bag and pull it tight. Shuffle it up. Next thing is you have perk cards, which are these white cards here. You're going to shuffle those up, and then you're going to deal 1 to each player. So I'm just going to keep them all over here for organizational sake. And they're face up. So each player has their own card and their own amount of resources. At the start of the game, you are going to shuffle up this bag, and you're going to pull out 12 goods and put them onto the board. Next thing that will happen is you'll decide which monsters you want to play against and the difficulty. So in this game, you can do one of 3 settings to start up. You can do novice, you can do standard, or you can do advanced. And what that means is how many monsters are in the game. So if you're doing novice, there's only 2 monsters in the game, noting that Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein are considered one entity. Standard, you would choose 3, and advanced, you would choose 4 monsters to be onto the board. So for this example, we're going to go with a standard, and we'll pick 3. So we're going to choose the Wolfman, we're going to choose the Invisible Man, and we're going to choose Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein. So we're going to put them onto their starting locations, which each of these monsters has their own board here, and these boards tell you how to play them and also have some sort of mini game on them that need to be solved in order to get rid of them. So for each monster, what you're going to do for the beginning part is you're going to look, and it'll show where they begin on the back of their board. All of them have the same monster setup for the back. So now we've got them all where they start. There's a few more setup things to do for each of them. Let's see what those are. The Invisible Man, you just place the precinct thing like I did. For Wolfman, you place the laboratory thing here. And you also make sure you have the hunted emblem that is going to be here on the side of the board for now. And also this potion, which goes here. Next thing is the Bride and Frankenstein's monster. Okay, then they also have these little dials that look like sort of like a stereo dial. Bride starts here at 0, and the monsters is here at 0 as well. So now we've done all that, setup is ready to go. Seems a bit complicated, and just kind of depends on which monsters are in play. For the most part, you just put out 12 things and you put your player markers out on where they go. The backs of these sheets here tell you where they go to start, and each monster has their own mini game that needs to be conquered in order to defeat them. We will jump into the how to play, but in order to know how to play, we need to know how to defeat these monsters. Now there are 6 monsters in the game. The other 3 we'll cover in our playthrough tomorrow. However, for these 3 monsters, we'll look at how they are destroyed. So we'll start with the Invisible Man here. So at the Invisible Man, what we need to do is we need to go to the precincts, and we need to place colored tokens that match the symbols that are underneath them. So for instance, he has the inn, the barn, the mansion, the laboratory, and the institute. So we need to go collect an item from, say, the barn, go to his location, and then place it onto his board. This is basically finding evidence that he's been locations. Once we've collected all 5 of those, then we need to go to his space. So we need to be at the same location as him, wherever he is, and have enough of these red tokens that the power of them, and the power is shown on the top part of it. So this is a 4, this is a 5. And we need to have at least 9, spend those, and destroy the monster. And that takes him out of the game. Each of these, they have these little cheat sheet cards, as they were. And on the front side, they have the hero phase. On the back side, they have the monster phase and what each of the symbols mean as well. So, for instance, things you can do on your turn. One is you can move. Next thing is you can guide a villager to or from an adjacent space. So, for instance, let's say Elizabeth was here. Then what I could do is I could spend an action to pull her towards me, or I could move with her. So your move action, you can take any number of villagers with you. So I could pull her towards me, and then we both could move over here, for instance. Pick up, if you're in a location, let's say I was over here in the barn, I could pick up every single item that is at that location. So that would be a treasure trove if I picked all that up. Share. So there's going to be times, this is a cooperative game for sure, so there's going to be times where I have an item that could benefit a teammate. So let's say I meet up with the mayor, and the mayor needs a blue item that I have. Maybe there's no more blue items on the board or something. So what I can do is I can meet up with her, and I can share information or items with them, and then I will give them the item, and then they would have it in their possession. Because items that you have are strictly in your possession in this game. Next thing is advance. That would be, for instance, if I went to the precinct and I loaded one of these items onto his board. That is considered advancing a task. Defeat. That is where I'm in the same location with a monster. I have whatever I need to defeat them. It's different for each creature or each monster, and I would use it to defeat them, moving them from the game and the board. Last thing are special actions, which are noted on the boards, which each character has a different number of actions. All of these have 4 except for the mayor, who has 5. So what these special characters allow them to do are just slightly different things. The scientist. So normally these tokens have a power value on them. However, the scientist adds 1 to whatever it is. So if you pick up a 4 pitchfork here from the barn, that's a 5 pitchfork. The mayor has 5 actions. That's all she can do. She can just do 1 extra action. The inspector, you can place your hero in any non-water space with a monster. Let's say the inspector had the 9 red that they needed to defeat the Invisible Man. Then they could move it. Then they could, no matter where he was, they could teleport all the way to him with 1 action, and then next action be able to destroy him using those cards, those tokens that they have. And the last thing is one of the most powerful in the game, and that is the professor. and he can basically move any hero or villager one space. Next thing is Wolfman here. What needs to happen for the Wolfman is he has a special place called the laboratory here, and you would need to move your person to the laboratory and load up blue tokens onto his board. So, for instance, if you can see here, there's different values on them, 1, 2, and 3, and there's 2 rows of those. So what you need to do is you need to go to the laboratory, use one of your actions, and put it onto the board. Once you've done that 6 times, matching the values that are 1, 2, 3, then you have discovered the cure. Then what would happen is you would need to meet up in the same space with the Wolfman, have the cure, and also have a red token amounts matching up to 6 at least. So if you had all that, then you would defeat him and he would be out of the game. If ever a exclamation point flips for him, then every person who is in the Wolfman space is hit, which is bad because normally if you're in a space with a villager, you can choose who the monster attacks. So if the Wolfman was here, you could choose to have yourself be attacked, because if you're attacked and you're hit, you can spend these items to prevent dying, because once you're hit once, you die. However, for every hit, you can use an item to basically fend them off. However, if that exclamation point hits, he hits everybody, and that kills a villager. Next thing is Frankenstein's monster and the bride. So with them, what you need to do is you need to move into their space, and then you need to use an item that matches their color. So for instance, the bride is looking for blue items. So let's say you used this tower on the bride. Then what you would do is you would use that token. This has a power of 2 on it, and you would turn this dial 2 spaces to 2. And what these dials are for are the humanity of the monster and the bride. So that you're trying to make them more human. And also you move them that number of spaces. So that's 2. So they move 1, 2. And that's in your choice which direction they go. And then same thing with the monster here. Instead of blue tokens, it's yellow tokens. Once the dials have both gone to their maximum point, which is 8 for the bride and 11 for the monster, then you would flip it over to show their faces. However, what the bride and the monster are trying to do is they're trying to meet up, because true love. They're trying to meet up. If they meet up, then terror is increased. However, if you get them to the point where they've reached their max limit on their humanity scale, once they meet after they've done that, then they are defeated. So you want to get them to their max level and then let them meet up to defeat themselves. Now we've done that, we have something called a frenzy token here, which is important. It goes to whichever creature has the lowest number here. It starts off with Frankenstein and the bride, and then it'll move to the Wolfman whenever a certain card is drawn, and so on. So now we've done all that, we've set up the monsters, we are ready to really jump into this game. So on your turn, you have a number of actions that are depicted on the top of your player board. So once they're done with their turn, then a monster card is drawn. So we'll flip over a monster card and do whatever it says. So this one here pertains to the creature, so they are out of the picture. However, at the top here, you see a number. That is how many items come out of the bag and go onto the board. 0, which is not great. However, it says place the creature at the lagoon. Creature's out of play. We don't worry about that. And then it has a number of symbols here. Each symbol pertains to a monster. It is on your little cheat sheet which one is which. So the first one here is a moon with a howling person. That's obviously the Wolfman. And they are going to move 1 space and roll 3 dice. However, there's no one near them. So they're going to move here, which is towards the nearest player. And that's 1, 2, 3. And that's 1, 2, 3. Could have gone either way. You as the player decide which way they go. So we're going to have them go this way. And then they roll 3 dice if there's anyone there to attack. There's not, so we're safe on that aspect. Next is the bride, who is going to move 1 space, roll 3, nothing happens. In the instance where Frankenstein's monster and the bride are ever frenzied, it's only working towards the monster. So the monster moves 1 space since they are the frenzied creature and they roll 3, but there's no one there. Let's say, for instance, that the professor was there. Then he would need to roll 3 dice. And let's say that the professor had 1 item in their possession. So, whoever the active player is would roll the dice. So, 0's on these, so that's good. And then, however, we do have the exclamation point. And what that means for the bride and monster is that they move 1 space closer to each other. So they both move 1 space. But let's say one of these had been a hit. Then what would happen is he would strike out at the professor here, and the professor has 2 options. Either they can die, which would increase the terror level, or they can choose to expend 1 item to stave off that hit, which he'll do in this instance to stay alive. And then they both move. And that would be the end of that round. Moves on to the next player, whoever that would be, and so on and so on. Everyone keeps going around. You're trying to complete all these tasks. It's a lot of multi-managing aspects in this game, but it's a load of fun. And for each of these villagers, you'll see at the at the top of them where they want to go. So, for instance, with Lucy, she starts at the theater. However, she wants to go to the mansion. If you can move her to the mansion, then you get another perk card, which these are very useful. They all do different things. I'm not going to go through all of them because it's an entire deck full of stuff that they all do different things. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. If you have any questions, feel free to come here and make a comment in the comment section, and we'll, look at that as much as and answer any questions you have. And basically, you win this game by defeating every single creature, monster, whatever. So, if you defeat the Invisible Man, the Wolf Man, and Frankenstein and his bride in this game, you would have won the game. All the while, you have a ticking time bomb in these monster cards. Oftentimes, it comes down to running out of time because you don't have another card to draw. Also, if you're fairly careless, and this can go all the way up to 7, and if that happens, you lose the game. Basically, you need to defeat these 3 monsters before the terror marker reaches 7 or the deck runs out. And that is how you play Horrified. It's a lot of fun, a cooperative game in which you are trying to defeat Universal's top monsters. If you have any questions, feel free to get in the comment section and let us know. It is a bit of a complicated game, but it's a lot of fun and fits right in here with spooky season. We hope that you are able to claim victory over these universal monsters. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time because that's the way we roll. Blank.